In the heart of ancient Egypt, where the mighty Nile flowed through bustling cities and fertile fields, a shadow loomed over the land. The Pharaoh, ruler of Egypt, grew anxious as the population of Israelites increased rapidly within his kingdom. Fearing their strength and unity, he forced the Israelites into harsh, relentless slavery. Day after day, men, women, and even children toiled under the scorching sun, building monuments and cities for a ruler who saw them only as laborers. But Pharaoh's cruelty did not end there. In a desperate attempt to control the Israelites, he issued a chilling decree. Every newborn Hebrew boy was to be thrown into the Nile River. The banks of the Nile, once a symbol of life, became a place of heartbreak and despair for countless families. Amid this terror, one courageous mother, Jochebed, refused to give in to fear. For 3 long months she hid her precious baby boy, risking everything to keep him safe. Each day she prayed for protection, trusting that God would watch over her child. When hiding him became impossible, Jochebed crafted a small, waterproof basket with her own hands. With a heavy heart, she placed her baby inside, and gently set the basket among the reeds at the edge of the Nile, hoping the river that brought life to Egypt would also bring hope to her son. Nearby, the baby's older sister Miriam hid among the tall grasses, her eyes fixed on the floating basket. She watched anxiously, her heart pounding, praying for a miracle to save her little brother from the dangers of the river and the decree of Pharaoh. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe at the river. Spotting the basket, she opened it and was moved with compassion by the crying infant inside. Despite knowing he was a Hebrew child, she chose to save him, her heart touched by his innocence. Miriam, gathering her courage, approached the princess and offered to find a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby. The princess agreed, and so Jochebed was reunited with her son, able to care for him openly, her faith rewarded in the most unexpected way. The baby was named Moses, meaning drawn out of the water. From these humble and perilous beginnings, a journey of destiny began, one that would change the fate of a nation forever. Moses grew up in the grand courts of Egypt, surrounded by luxury and privilege. Raised as the adopted son of Pharaoh's daughter, he wore the finest clothes, learned the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was treated as royalty. Yet deep within, he always remembered his true heritage. That he was born an Israelite, a child of a people who lived as slaves in the very land he called home. As Moses walked among the people, he saw the suffering of the Hebrews, his own people, forced into hard labor and treated harshly. The injustice weighed heavily on his heart, and he struggled with his identity, torn between 2 worlds. One day, he witnessed an Egyptian overseer mercilessly beating a Hebrew slave. The sight filled Moses with anger and sorrow. Unable to stand by, Moses intervened and in a moment of passion struck down the Egyptian, ending his life to protect the slave. When word of his deed spread, Moses realized his life was in danger. Fearing Pharaoh's wrath and the consequences of his actions, he made the difficult decision to flee Egypt, leaving behind the only life he had ever known. Moses journeyed across the harsh desert and arrived in the distant land of Midian. There, at a well, he came to the aid of Jethro's daughters, protecting them from hostile shepherds. Grateful for his kindness, Jethro welcomed Moses into his family. Moses married Zipporah, Jethro's daughter, and found a new home among the Midianites. He became a shepherd, tending flocks in the quiet wilderness, living a humble and peaceful life for many years, far from the turmoil of Egypt. But even in this remote place, God had not forgotten Moses or the destiny that awaited him. One extraordinary day, while tending his sheep, Moses noticed a bush that was engulfed in flames but was not consumed by the fire, a miraculous sight that drew him closer. From within the burning bush, the voice of God called out to Moses, setting him on a new path and revealing a purpose that would change the course of history. At the burning bush, God spoke, "I have seen my people suffering in Egypt. I am sending you to free them." Moses hesitated, feeling unworthy and afraid. God promised to be with him and gave him signs to prove his power. Moses worried about speaking, so God appointed his brother Aaron as his spokesman. With courage from God, Moses returned to Egypt, ready to confront Pharaoh. He and Aaron delivered God's message, "Let my people go." Pharaoh refused, making the Israelites' lives even harder. But God's plan was just beginning. Because Pharaoh's heart was unyielding and stubborn, God unleashed a series of 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt. The first sign was shocking. The waters of the Nile, the very lifeblood of Egypt, turned to blood, Fish died, the river stank, and the people were horrified as their source of water became undrinkable. Next, swarms of frogs invaded every home and street, leaping into beds and kitchens. Then came gnats, tiny and relentless, covering people and animals alike, making daily life unbearable. After that, clouds of flies filled the air, followed by a deadly disease that struck livestock, crippling Egypt's herds. Hail rained down, destroying crops, and then locusts devoured what little remained. Darkness fell over the land for days, so thick it could be felt, and there were even more plagues that struck fear into every heart. Each time disaster struck, Pharaoh would promise to let the Israelites go, but as soon as relief came, he hardened his heart and broke his word. At last, God warned of a final, terrible plague, the death of every Egyptian firstborn, from the palace to the poorest home. Fear and sorrow swept through Egypt as families waited in dread. The Israelites, following God's command, marked their doorposts with the blood of a spotless lamb, a sign of faith and obedience. That night, the angel of death passed over every home marked with blood, sparing the Israelites while tragedy struck the Egyptians. Overcome with grief and loss, Pharaoh finally relented. He summoned Moses and ordered the Israelites to leave Egypt at once. The Israelites gathered their families and belongings and fled into the desert, guided by a miraculous pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, a sign that God was with them. But Pharaoh's heart hardened once more. He sent his army and chariots in pursuit, determined to bring the Israelites back into slavery, chasing them all the way to the edge of the Red Sea. Trapped between the sea and the Egyptian army, the Israelites cried out in fear, but God performed a miracle. He parted the waters, creating a dry path for his people to cross safely. When the Egyptians tried to follow, the waters rushed back, overwhelming Pharaoh's army and chariots, and not one of them survived. The Israelites stood on the far shore, free at last. They rejoiced, sang songs of praise, and gave thanks to God for delivering them from slavery and leading them to freedom. Moses led the Israelites through the wilderness toward the Promised Land. God provided food from heaven and water from rocks. At Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments to guide his people. For 40 years, Moses taught and led the Israelites, trusting God's promise. Though Moses did not enter the Promised Land himself, he brought his people to its border. His life became a story of faith, courage, and obedience. Moses showed that when God calls, he gives strength for the journey. The Israelites' freedom was just the beginning of their new story.